do our job. This homeless crisis is out of control. People that criticize it are right. We need to see progress.
Governor Newsom's ultimate plan of ending homelessness back when he was mayor of San Francisco has fallen significantly short. But as we know, all politics are local, and the governor has been saying ending the homeless crisis starts in the communities that it's happening in. Back with our panel, Mike Carbasi and Diane Pierce. So let's just talk about the billions of dollars once again going towards homelessness. In the last segment, you said homelessness is Fresno's biggest issue. Is it the dollars coming in, or how those dollars are working to combat the homelessness crisis?
I think it's our mentality. Number one is we keep combining housing and homelessness. They are two separate issues because there's the mental health and substance abuse component of homelessness as well. That's never going to go away, especially when we have policies in this state that we can no longer mandate treatment. Despite the governor's efforts, he keeps getting undermined by our radical state legislature. He said, do not give me bills that are going to be big ticket items, and I'll veto them. He vetoed them, but we're still facing a budget deficit.
When you look at the homelessness crisis, you know, even Mayor Dyer, he went to go lobby for more funding for homelessness here in Fresno. I know you're part of the Clovis City Council now, but I think the question is homelessness is something that's always just going to be there no matter how hard or how much money we throw at it?
Ultimately, I don't think it's a money issue. I think if money was going to solve or even make a significant dent in the problem, we would have started to see that already. And so I think the real problem is it's a lot easier for politicians and legislators to throw money at it and say, well, now we're going to give you another $1 billion, because most of us understand that when you see those people Mike was talking about that have mental health issues, that have substance abuse issues, when we see them on the street, we have compassion for them, and we know that what they actually need is not simply a roof over their head. Should
some of those billions of dollars that we're talking about, should that be geared towards building more shelters in communities?
You know what we need? We need an inpatient mental health services system in this state. We haven't had that in decades. We need to go back to that because there are people that literally can't take care of themselves. There is no component in the court system where the state can take over your care. Now, I say that because there are people that don't have family or families have given up on them and they're out there on the streets. Our approach to mental health in this state is outpatient. So you want someone who's schizophrenic to make the conscious decision to take medication. That's not going to happen. This is a man-made problem. Our homelessness problem is completely made by the people of this state in Sacramento that, you're right, Diane, want to throw money at the problem because they think that's the quickest way to get reelected.
You know, and something came up last week in the city council meeting, and I think a lot of people were outraged by it, but it had some people thinking at least. Miguel Arias saying that Selland Arena, it's not being used very much, and if there's an event there, it costs a lot more money than if we were to turn it into a homeless shelter. Your thoughts on that? You're talking about, I think, the oldest downtown arena that we have. You know, actually the only arena downtown, but maybe the oldest in the Central Valley, turning it into a homeless shelter.
Again, I think that's actually only going to perpetuate the problem, because if you really have two groups of people, the people who need treatment, we need involuntary commitment for mental health services. We need to roll back the problems with Props 47 and 57 that don't allow us to force drug abusers and people with substance abuse problems into treatment for those things. And then you have the group of people who just aren't interested in living the way the rest of us live. And those are the people that a quote-unquote homeless shelter would be ideal for, but they don't want it. So if we're not actually looking at the root causes of what's going on, you can fill Selland Arena with whatever you want, but it's not going to solve anything.
You heard that and say what?
Well, I was pretty surprised. I really tried before passing judgment to think what the other person's thinking. So in the case of Councilmember Arias, his district faces homelessness unlike anyone else, where you see it everywhere. So, and I think he's pretty frustrated because this problem was created by a bunch of unelected judges in Sacramento. They said, if we're going to move someone who's homeless, apparently it's compassionate to leave them out there in the elements, because if we don't have a bed, we can't move them away from that site. And that's why we have to find a place we can house them. The problem with the convention center, why for me that's just dead on arrival, is because you can't trade one problem for another. We have a hotel that's going to be built there soon. You think the corporations aren't listening to the news? If they find out there's going to be a homeless center in there, they're not going to build there. And you know, we talk a lot about downtown, revitalizing downtown. There is no way a healthy downtown can lose a convention center.
I want to finish with this. Amanda Fleming, you ran against her in the primary in the 27th district for state assembly. This week, on Thursday, she was charged by the Fresno County DA on a number of charges for election fraud, lying under perjury, and voting illegally in Fresno County. The DA alleged she used her business address as her home address to become elected city clerk in Firebaugh. She also ran, as I said, District 27, and when I emailed their council members, Brady Jenkins emailed me back saying they are monitoring the situation but have not put her on leave or asked her to resign or anything just yet. What do you make of this? Because it just doesn't add up. How did she get away with the addresses, and how did the city clerks, or I should say the elections clerks, not figure out that there was a problem here?
Well, first of all, I think the most shocking thing is to recognize that voter fraud or election fraud exists, because I thought that that was not even an issue or a problem at all. It didn't happen. But setting that aside.
Sarcasm, folks, sarcasm.
But setting that aside, my honest question when I saw that was, how did it get to that? Because anybody who has stepped up to run for public office, you fill out a lot of paperwork and it all has to be processed and approved. And one of those things is your residency requirement. It has to be signed off on.
You need bills and proof and all kinds of stuff.
And so obviously if it's a business address, that may make it a little more difficult to catch, but ultimately there's supposed to be checks in place to make sure that that doesn't happen. So I don't understand.
Same concern, but it goes to show my colleagues in the council, Lisa Smitkamp will prosecute you regardless of your party when you break the law.
How did I know you were going to say that? I mean, when you think about this, I mean, is she facing jail time, or does she do this? I don't want to. We don't want to really speak for her because we don't know what's going on. She has sought legal counsel. She didn't want to make a comment on this show, so I'm just confused. You know, Diane says, how does it get to this point?
Yeah.
That's the question I have. I mean, look, she's right. Diane's right. We sign forms. We should know that you can't use a business address. I cannot speak for Amanda. I got to know Amanda. We met a few times during the campaign trail. She's very polite and very nice. It's really an unfortunate situation, but she needs an attorney. These are very serious charges.
All right, Mike Carbasi, Diane Pierce, appreciate the time so much. All right.